Hello and welcome to the BMW Car Club of America National Capital Chapter Sim Racing League Fall Season live tonight from the Autodromo International Algarve for race 9 of this 14 race fall season. You're joining us here in Portimao in the Algarve region of Portugal, and looking forward to a very exciting race tonight. We had a lot of fun in the last event at Sebring, and these drivers trying to make their way up there to charge for the championship. It's currently Clint Fletcher leading the way with 3 victories. We'll take a look at the points in just a moment here. The drivers in the qualifying session trying to get set up for a good start to this race. My name is Adam Baker, and I will be your commentator here tonight. Thank you for joining us on V-Speed for this race. I want to give a big shout out to the sponsors of this series, Duncan Racing Designs and Gunfire Games. Make sure to check them out in the video description, as well as at the halfway break between our heat and feature races. Should be a lot of fun here this evening. Let's take a look at the points coming in after race number 8. Clint Fletcher winning the heat and the pole over there. Did not get the result that he wanted in feature event, but still has 3 victories on this season. Brian Kennedy second in points, still a ways to go behind him, and going to try and close the gap here tonight at our Algarve. And Colin Kortnick back there in the 3rd spot. Really not too many contenders for the championship at this point in the season. Really the top 5 probably with a realistic shot at it, but if anyone misses a race or a few races, things could get shaken up, and we'll see these drivers closer and closer as the season wears on. Only 5 races left after tonight though, so gonna have to start making those moves. We do have some fast drivers joining us here tonight that have not been all season contenders, and looking forward to see what they can do here this evening. Once again, thank you for joining us on V-Speed. Let's go track side as the drivers starting to get gridded up for tonight's race. Little bit of information about tonight's event. We'll take a look at the race lineup over there on the left. That is how your drivers are going to be starting here this evening. Pulling up the race analysis. Again, we're in Portimao, the Algarve region of Portugal, for tonight's event. 2.89 miles, 4.65 kilometers, the distance of this racetrack. 15 corners to get right or get wrong. So these drivers are going to have to focus every single lap on getting it done. The top 12 drivers will be inverted from qualifying to this heat race, so the way that they're lining up is the opposite of how they qualified. You can see that order up on the left side. Andy Scheel, your pole winner in terms of the lap time there in qualifying. He's gonna have to start at the back of the field. The top 15 drivers will earn points. We've only got 9 here tonight, so everyone is getting inverted and everyone is getting points tonight. And again, race 9 of 14, only 5 races remaining after this one, so should be a lot on the line for some of these drivers trying to get their 1st or 2nd win of the season, or try and solidify their championship hopes. It should be a lot of fun. Make sure to cheer on your favorite driver. Let us know you're out there, who you're rooting for, and who do you think is going to win tonight's race, as we are getting set to roll off from Algarve. We'll see who has a shot to win tonight. We'll pull up the track map here in just a moment. We'll take a look at the starting grid in terms of qualifying times. Andy Scheel, again, your fastest driver. He's going to get those bonus points. Clint Fletcher, your championship leader. He's 2nd quickest in qualifying. He'll start right there at the back with Andy. As 3rd quickest in qualifying, Brian Kennedy. Michael Pavolano, 4th fastest. Bruce Wiley, 5th. Matthew Gazenda, 6th. 7th was Dean Tulin. Scott Kim in 8th. Darren Treacle, who won last week's race at Sebring. If you haven't tuned into it yet, we did post that race replay up on the channel just earlier today. Very exciting racing, and Darren Treacle, one of those guys we're used to seeing fighting for wins each and every race. He's going to be starting from pit lane though in this one, so Scott Kim going to be starting at the front of the field. A little bit of a shake up there. Looks like Darren electing to start from the pit lane. Very beautiful region here in Portugal. Perfectly sunny weather. Track temp is incredibly hot. You can see the heat haze coming off of the surface of this track. So these GT3 machines, they have a lot of downforce and a lot of grip, may be struggling a little bit more with the handling than we're used to seeing in some of the other races that have a little lower track temp. This is probably the hottest I've seen for any race that this league has run. But looking forward to a very exciting night of racing. See if we can follow up on the action that we saw at Sebring, which was just an all-time race for these guys, especially the heat race. And this track, an FIA F1 grade circuit, home to the Portuguese Grand Prix in 2020 and 2021. Gonna be a lot of fun to watch these guys duke it out here tonight as we're working back towards the start finish line. And it's going to be Scott Kim and Dean Tulane, who had some good battles at Sebring last race. Going to be getting us going here tonight from Algarve. Coming up over the crest of the front straightaway, the field in the hands of the number 711, a bright green Ferrari. Waiting for the flag to fly as they creep down this front stretch. There it is, green flag. We're off and away from Portugal. Darren Treacle rolling off the pit lane, already out there. See what he's able to do to try and close up to the field, but side by side back here in the mid pack, the 52 of Matthew Gazenda in his Ford Mustang. New scheme on that car, looks really nice. He's battling side by side with Clint Fletcher, who we're used to seeing right up there at the front. Clint trying to run away from Andy Scheel, who is also very fast in practice and qualifying, trying to create some distance in the early moments of this race. See if he can climb towards the front, already up to 4th spot after starting in 8th. And Scott Kim hanging on to the race lead for the moment. It's Michael Pavolano looking, though, drivers left, as they are going to make their way through Craig Jones, turn number 9, into turn number 10, Portimao, and 11, this complex. You can see on the track map. And it is going to be Michael Pavolano taking the lead away, one Ferrari to another. And here comes Clint Fletcher trying to make progress to get up into the podium on lap number 1 after starting all the way back in 8th. And he's working to drivers left of the 711 of Scott Kim. They'll work their way off of turn number 14 into turn 15. Final corner of this racetrack, and he is going to have that pass done and over with, no problem whatsoever. Here comes Dean Tulane, though, putting the pressure on the 711 as Michael Pavolano leads lap number 1 back down towards turn number 1, Primera. And big send there by Dean Tulane. He's going to go a little bit off the course, and got to be careful with those track limits. Scott Kim able to work back underneath, but staying side by side through turn 3 into turn number 4, still side by side. Behind them, Andy Scheel, and big bobble there from Dean Tulane. That'll let the 1 car by. So Scheel up to 4th. He's making quick work of some of these drivers. And Scott Kim goes a little bit wide there through that one. This may be a newer track for most of these BMW Kart Club of America National Capital Chapter drivers. I don't believe we've run here, or if we have, it's been a little while. So the battle now on between Dean Tulane and Scott Kim, 4th and 5th. Ryan Kennedy 2nd in points, seeing his championship rival Clint Fletcher drive up through the field, and he's stuck behind these two for the moment. But Brian, one of those who's kind of slow and methodical at the beginning of these races, and you'll see him get closer and closer to the front as the race wears on. Not able to make a move on Scott Kim, still hanging tough here in 6th. That's the tail end of the field there, hanging back. It does look like Darren Treacle maybe with some issues along with Matthew Gazenda. These two drivers well behind the rest of the field. We'll see if we can find out what happened to these two as the race goes on here, but no change for position at the moment. We're going to see if we can find what happened in the replay if these two got together. Gazenda was right in the mix of all of that, and yeah, here we go. This is what happened to Matthew Gazenda on lap number 1. Had to check up for the one machine, gets tagged by Bruce Wiley, who overshot the turn. Everybody able to avoid. Ooh, Darren Treacle came into the corner. I'm not sure he was maybe even able to see. Yeah, pretty tough. And then he gets on the binders. That sends the car around. They make a bit of contact. And ultimately, that is why the two of those drivers are well behind the 8 ball here. And at the front of the field, change of position. Clint Fletcher is taking it away in his Porsche, able to clear the 111 of Michael Pavolano. And here comes Andy Scheel, another Porsche, and they are just ripping through this field. Now on lap number 3, they've come all the way from 8th and 9th. Going to be 1st and 2nd here if Scheel can complete that pass. And he sends it down on the inside through turn number 13. Now back through Sag, I think, or Sagre. Turn number 14. And into Galp, which that's what they call turn number 15. This long sweeping right-hander downhill. And there's a bit of elevation at this track, which can upset these cars in addition to the high track temp. But most of these drivers doing just fine handling the hot, slick surface. As you see, they drop down towards turn number 1. Scott Kim feeling the pressure now from Brian Kennedy and Bruce Wiley. Brian, big slide there. Oh, and he hits the curb huge, and that could open the door. Or Bruce Wiley could cause some damage to the 77 as well. You can see it really starting to slide that Ferrari around, which you've got to be careful with in the opening moments of a race. You really don't want to burn your stuff up too quickly. Still have about 2/3 of this race yet to go. Out in front, it is the 2 Porsches we've gotten by as Michael Pavolano looks like he may have settled in just a little bit behind these two. We'll see what kind of pace he's able to generate, but the top 2 by far and away the fastest on the racetrack, running in the 145s. And everybody else, at least in the 146s, at least a half second slower. So that is how much quicker these two out in front are, at least in the opening portion of this race. We'll see if it holds up, though. Clint Fletcher has been very strong all season. Obviously, your points leader with 3 victories. And again, had the fastest car last week, but not able to get the victory at the end of the day. But still strong 5th place finish in that race. Andy Scheel looking to get to victory lane. As those two starting to break away the gap now, 1.7 seconds back to Michael Pavolano, who was just leading a moment ago. We're just taking a look here to see if Andy Scheel does have a victory. I don't believe he does, looking at our standings. But he is a driver who's been dominant, a former champion of the league. Clint Fletcher has been a mainstay here and has slowly improved season after season, and he has become a force to be reckoned with in this league. And right now he's feeling the pressure from another driver. These two really, I think, probably on a different level in terms of pace tonight. They are looking very fast. Andy Scheel just got in the 144s, which is qualifying times. You've got to be careful of following this closely, and Clint Fletcher put down a solid lap in his own right, only about a quarter second slower. That's how tight these two are to each other. And there is nobody else in the 145-second bracket. So Clint Fletcher was at least 1 second faster than the third fastest car. And Andy Shield another quarter second faster than that. So showing really good pace as they work down the front stretch. And that is the gap back to Michael Pavolano, who's kind of all on his own here. And he's running a pretty solid pace as well. Take a look at the lap times as they come on in. Yeah, it looks like a 147.1, which is about a second and a half off of the top two, who are running very similarly in the 145s, but Andy Shield looks like he might have the edge in terms of outright pace. The one thing is it took him a little bit longer making some of those passes. Did he use up any more of the available grip for that car? We're looking at lap times. Third fastest car is Scott Kim. He's back in the 5th spot after starting up in 2nd, right here in the middle between Dean Tulien and Brian Kennedy. We'll keep an eye on them. He's going to look now drivers right. Try and take 4th position away. Scott's found some good pace here in this one. And here comes Brian Kennedy, going to also try to capitalize as they work through turn number 13. Or towards turn number 13, rather. They'll look to drivers right on the number 1 of Dean Tulien. Running a different number here tonight. Out in front, though, that's the difference between the two leaders through turn 15. Over half the race is completed, and we're separated by, it's going to be a fraction of a second by the time they get to the stripe here. Side by side, racing towards turn number 1. Clint Fletcher with the nose out in front. Is he going to be able to hold off the hard-charging Andy Shield, who's going to send it deep? Not going to give an inch, though, is the 6 of Clint Fletcher. He holds off that advance. And that is the thing. Both these drivers so much faster than the rest of the field. Brian Kennedy now going to work his way on by Dean Tulien, and Bruce Wiley right there in tow. He's got left front damage. Remember that contact earlier that sent Matthew Gazenda around. You see where the leaders are in relation. They're actually not too terribly far ahead. Obviously, they're much faster lap after lap, but it has only been 6 laps completed, so still have 7 cars within 10 seconds. Not as close as we saw last week at Sebring in the heat race, where we had 7 cars basically within 2 seconds in the final laps of that one. But it is good to see how competitive these guys are. Even with the small fields, we always see battles all race long. There's very rare that we get moments where there are cars on their own for an extended amount of time. Matthew Gazenda giving up a position to Darren Treacle. I believe Gazenda went off track or had a little bit of a time penalty right there. And here comes Darren Treacle on through to 8th. He'll look to try and run a clean rest of the race, and we know he's got good pace, especially when he gets into clean air. So keep an eye on the 70 for the feature event tonight. Top 2 Porsches, though, still putting down incredible laps. We're seeing fall off, which is not something we see all the time, but these hot track temps causing a little bit of tire degradation, and these guys out in front now into the 146s, so basically a second or more off of their fast times. The rest of the field looking a bit more consistent, but these two have pushed really hard in the opening half to get up to the lead. Meanwhile, Brian Kennedy now takes a peek here. Driver's left to the inside of Scott Kim, trying to get back on the throttle. Looks like Scott able to defend for the moment. They'll be side by side. And Brian now able to complete that pass. Scott will settle in line in the 5th spot. Really good pace from the 7-Eleven. Especially as this race has gone on. How about out front? The gap's still about 1 car length. Keeping an eye on this battle. And nearly a bit of contact there. Look at Andy Shield, patient on the throttle, trying to find any room to make it around the 6. Clint Fletcher doing everything he can to keep Andy behind. I think knowing that the 5 is just a little bit quicker, and these two are going to have to do this all over again because they'll get sent to the back because of the invert. It'll be fun to watch them race their way through like they've done in this one and see if anyone else can contend, having learned anything from this heat race. In the midfield here, 4 cars under a blanket. Scott Kim, Brian Kennedy, Dean Tooley, and Bruce Wiley all battling for position. And every spot is a point or more. They are fighting fiercely in this part of the field. You can see the handling going away on these cars further back. As we keep an eye on this battle for the lead, Andy Shield and Clint Fletcher greasing the gap. Now we're 5 seconds back to Michael Pavolano, who appears to have lost the handle as this race has gone on, but he's still the 3rd quickest car. And actually it doesn't look like he's fallen off too much, but he did have a bit of a slip right before we cut the camera to him. Lost him about a half second, so gonna have to find a lot, or hope that these two get together as they're battling quickly. And a little bit of connection problem there from Andy Shield, who's gonna work his way now alongside on the backside of the track. This is the battle for the lead, potentially the battle for the win. Not sure if Clint Fletcher's gonna have an advantage going back down into turn 1 using the outside lane. They're in the same position they were a couple of laps ago. Fletcher leading at the line. And I think the 5's gonna have to really send it deep, and he tries to. But Clint able to hang on again, defending perfectly. And Andy Shield doing everything he can, trying to find some way to get on through. So we ride on board here with Andy Shield and his Porsche 911 GT3. Raced all the way from 9th up to 2nd. You can hear it runs it over the curb there. Big scrape on the bottom of that car. And Clint has been able to extend the gap by a couple more car lengths. Let's do a quick run through the field here with just about 2 laps remaining. Clint Fletcher started 8th. He's led 7 of our 9 laps completed. Andy Shield started 8th up to the 2nd, or rather started 9th up to the 2nd position. Michael Pavolano started 6th. He has led 2 laps tonight, running in that 3rd spot. Brian Kennedy started in 7th. He's up to 4th. So some of these guys making their way through. Scott Kim started 2nd, still running in 5th and showing good pace. I want to make that known. Scott Kim looking really strong here tonight. Bruce Wiley from 5th to 6th. Dean Tooley from 3rd to 7th. Still trying to figure some things out, but looks like his pace is starting to stabilize and he's getting a bit more consistent. Darren Treacle, who would have started 1st but ended up rolling off a pit lane. Currently back in the 8th spot after getting a little bit of contact there. Matthew Gazenda going around, started in 4th, running in 9th at the moment. As we go back up to the point, yeah, big slide there by the 52 just before we cut away. But this battle for the lead is raging. Gonna be 1 lap to go the next time they get to the stripe. And Clint Fletcher goes defensive there. That could cost him though. Overdid it into the turn. as Andy Shield used the outside groove, cut it back underneath, and he's going to complete the pass. A perfect example of getting it done cleanly and being patient with it. He's had the pace, and it's going to be tough now, I think, for Clint to catch back up. Let's take a look at the replay of that pass for the race lead. There is Andy Shield, looks outside to the right, and then just a little too deep. Clint Fletcher probably looking in his mirror, seeing Andy do that and trying to defend. Did not have the grip to go in there as fast as he did. They remain still just a car length or two apart. Andy Shield has completed the last to first challenge in this heat race. Not a reward for that other than bragging rights. He's going to have to do it again in the feature, and that is going to be just as tough. He's got the wiper blade going. Interesting move there. Maybe that gets a little bit more downforce on the front end of these race cars. White flag is in the air, and the top two still well out in front, over 6 seconds ahead of Michael Pavolano. Andy Shield leading his first lap of the night. This is your closest battle for position. Nobody else really fighting for a spot. Bruce Wiley and Scott Kim just about a second apart from each other, so just a little further than these two. You can see there just how differently Clint Fletcher goes through that corner when not under attack. Use the normal running lane, but Andy Shield looking, he's got the pace to maybe sweep the night. We've seen him do it before. We've seen him do it week after week before. And he has not been full-time in this series. I think maybe just one start all season long, so this may be just his second. As Bruce Wiley making some ground up on Scott Kim. This is the last lap. Can he get there and make a challenge to get up to 5th? Scott's run a nice clean race, no issues. And the leader's working through turn number 15. Andy Shield from 9th. Looking very tough to beat tonight. He's going to take the win in the heat race. And Clint Fletcher going to come through for 2nd. He'll slam it into the wall. Michael Pavolano, he's going to sneak on through for 3rd. And he just avoids the vehicle of Clint Fletcher. This is a nice tradition with these guys. They like to slam it into each other at the end. Scott Kim finishes 5th. Bruce Wiley in 6th. Dean Tooley 7th. Darren Treacle and Matthew Gazenda at the back of the field. As we'll take a look at the results for our heat race tonight. 2 lead changes. Andy Shield able to drive from 9th to 1st. Clint Fletcher in that 2nd spot after starting 2nd to last. So both those drivers made their way up towards the front. Michael Pavolano started 6th. He led a couple laps. Brian Kennedy 7th to 4th. Scott Kim finishes in 5th. Bruce Wiley 6th. Dean Tooley 7th. Darren Treacle, Matthew Gazenda going to round out our heat race. What an exciting battle there for the win. We're going to go to a quick commercial break, and we will be right back with your feature event. From the starting line to the finish line, and everything in between, Duncan Racing Designs is here to supply you with the livery you didn't know you needed. Let DRD help you look good so you can drive fast. Contact Duncan Racing Designs on Instagram, Trading Paints, or via email. This season of the BMW Car Club of America National Capital Chapter Sim Racing League is brought to you by Gunfire Games, developers of the hit game Remnant 2, now available for PC, PS5, and Xbox. For more information on Remnant 2, visit www.remnantgame.com. And here comes Milo, big run out of 4. He's going to be there.
Tristan Martin's there. Cannot count after 37.
Oh!
The round gets burned!
Cabot, where did he come from? Here comes Slack.
A push from the 33.
It's a drag race.
The Magic Man wins it Auto Club.
We're back at the racetrack now, about to get things going from Algarve for our feature race. In race 9 of 14, this BMW Car Club of America National Capital Chapter Sim Racing fall season. It's been a good one so far. Clint Fletcher looking to extend his points lead, coming up with just 5 races left in the season. And he just came up 1 position short of the victory in the heat race. Andy Scheel able to drive from last to first. He's going to have to do it again. Going to be starting in similar positions to where they started in our heat race tonight. We're going to look at our starting grid from Algarve for race number 9. Matthew Gazenda going to be rolling off at the front of the field here in the number 52 Ford Mustang. Darren Treacle going to be starting in second, but again starting from pit lane. Not sure what's going on there, so he'll be starting towards the back of the field. Dean Tulien rolling off from the 3rd spot here tonight. Bruce Wiley going to start from 4th in his Ferrari. Scott Kim in his Ferrari also rolling off from the 5th spot. Brian Kennedy going to start from the 6th position in his Ferrari. Lots of Ferraris here tonight. Michael Pavolano, his Ferrari machine, going to start from the 7th spot. Clint Fletcher rolling off from 8th. And Andy Scheel going to be rounding out the field in the 9th spot. The 2 Porsches at the tail end of the field. Make sure to cheer on your favorite driver. Let us know you're out there. Who do you think is going to win here tonight? And again, my name is Adam Baker. Thank you for joining us on V-Speed. As always, hope you enjoy the race. And did you know that just about 50% of all of you that tune into these races and all of the races on our channel are not subscribed? It really does help us out a lot. If you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button, and you can hit the notification bell to stay updated on when we go live. If you enjoy our action here on the channel. These guys put on a great show in the heat race tonight, and I'm looking forward to see, can those 2 Porsches make their way on through and sweep the evening of the top 2 spots in every session. Very impressive. The Porsches have their strengths and weaknesses, just as every GT3 machine. Matthew Gazenda in his Ford Mustang going to try and represent American muscle at the front of the field, as they will work their way towards turn number 15. Get things going for us in the feature event. I think that those Porsches will make it through. No guarantees. This is racing. You never know what's going to happen exactly until it's over. Pace car makes the right-hand turn onto pit lane, and off and away. Green flag is out from Algarve. Darren Treacle, he'll get rolling on pit lane. Try and catch up to the tail end of the field. As down into turn 1, Gazenda with a big lead, 4 or 5 car lengths the advantage. Clint Fletcher's already made a little bit of progress in through the field. He's up to 5th. Already gained 3 spots. Andy Scheel, he's already picked up 2 as well. Separated right now by Michael Pavolano. Clint Fletcher now takes a peek down to driver's left. Brian Kennedy not going to make that happen, as Matthew Gazenda trying to run away as quickly as possible, almost a second ahead of Bruce Wiley. And we've got a car spinning. Dean Tulien Number one Ferrari going for a little bit of a ride there. Not sure if it was just under braking or maybe a little contact, but let's take a peek here at what happens to Dean. Ryan Kennedy, yeah, a little bumper tag right there. Sends him around. That's going to check up a couple of cars. Ultimately, Dean gets rolling once again, still in 8th place. Darren Treacle right here behind him, though. They'll fight for position about 8 seconds off your race leader. And Andy Shield has gotten by Brian Kennedy. Clint Fletcher already up to 3rd. They haven't moved quite as quickly in this race, but I think mostly based off of that accident. They had to check up and slow down, and a few seconds back now is Matthew Gazenda, your race leader of lap number 1. Just about 0.6 of a second in front of Bruce Wiley. And they've pulled away by a good gap over the 2 Porsches now. But I would expect those drivers to make their way forward as this race goes on. You can see already slipping and sliding Matthew Gazenda. Take a look at that. Track conditions, it's basically the same as our heat race. So that's going to be a little bit tricky for some of these drivers. And Clint Fletcher already making really big inroads on this lap. With the 52 feeling the pressure, Bruce Wiley, who was so close to getting a victory. And through the grass a little bit there goes the 52. Bruce Wiley, though, close to getting a victory at Sebring. Ultimately got passed by Darren Treacle in the closing laps. Came home with a nice solid runner-up. He'd love to get another podium finish or maybe even a shot at the win. 2 Porsches already growing closer and larger in the mirror. They won't necessarily, I think, win by the same margin that they won in the heat race tonight, but looking pretty much inevitable that they'll get there. Matthew Gazenda doing everything he can, though, to maintain the lead for the moment. He is started up front, going to lead the first 2 laps of this race. Bruce Wiley still a half second behind. We'll take a look at the lap times as they filter on in. Yeah, it is not even close. The 2 Porsches so much faster. We'll take a look at the top 2 who are in the low 146s, and then the mid to high 144s for the 2 Porsches. So they are running a 1.5 seconds a lap faster. So that is the difference. Brian Kennedy put down a really nice lap. I think that would have been 3rd fastest in the last race, a 1:45.79. So he has learned a little bit, as you expect from Brian Kennedy. He's one of those guys who slowly improves as the night goes on. Sometimes doesn't even look like a contender in the heat race, and then the feature comes along and he could be a guy that runs away with it. 2nd in points, does have a victory. And there goes Matthew Gazenda, our leader. Spinning out here on lap number 3. Is this the same spot that he had the issue in the previous race? Oh, wow, look at that car. He is losing control of it all the way back there under braking and could not get it collected. Goes from the lead all the way back to 7th into the clutches of Darren Treacle. And Andy Shield is working on making a move by Clint Fletcher. He's got it done. So it looks like Bruce Wiley should come across the stripe and lead this lap, but it is not going to be very long before the 5 and the 6 make their way on through. And Andy Shield looking dominant once again. Yeah, it's just every corner these guys are a little bit faster to get back on the throttle. They're pushing a little bit harder. Look at Clint Fletcher trying to find some way around. And here we go, nearly side by side for the lead. Perfect driving right there by Andy Shield. He's now side by side, and he's going to have the preferred groove, and I think Clint Fletcher is doing everything he can to stay right on the back bumper. He'll be side by side with Bruce Wiley. Not ideal. Should be able to get a pass completed here in pretty short order. Oh, that is tight racing. Clint Fletcher able to go around the outside and complete that pass to two Porsches. They've gone from the back to the front now. Brian Kennedy, like I said, he's putting down the next best lap times. About 6 or 7 tenths a lap slower, but still significantly better than anybody else in this field. So keep an eye on Brian Kennedy. To complete the podium, he's got one more driver to get by. We'll see, has Clint Fletcher learned anything from the heat race tonight to try and put the pressure on Andy Shield? I have the benefit of the draft, but you can see just the car pushing a little bit too much through that turn for him, not able to get the groove or the line that he would have liked. And a little bit wide, that cost him some time. Gets it back down to about a half second into turn number 1, where he has looked very strong. I think Clint maybe just a little bit stronger under braking in certain corners, but Andy just a little bit smoother with his technique at this racetrack for the moment. But yeah, these first few turns looking pretty much even. And really nice job getting back on the throttle there by Clint Fletcher. He's able to close the gap by a couple of hundredths. And then some of these high-speed technical sections, he's going to start to struggle with the downforce being this close behind. But looking like he has picked up a little bit here and there. These guys are really pushing these cars, though. They're right on the edge of control. Brian Kennedy also closing in. He ran his next best lap. Actually, that was... yeah, his best lap. Michael Pavolano as well, also picking up the pace. So those two could be contending for the final step of the podium. They're right now 4th and 5th. Bruce Wiley not quite up to snuff in terms of pace, but still solid and consistent. Actually, you know, he may have had more of an off lap the last time. Oh wow, Brian Kennedy goes really wide through the final corner. We'll keep an eye on the lap time here. Bruce Wiley 146.47, so that is a good solid lap time. Last time around it was a 147. Clint Fletcher, fastest car on the track that previous lap. And it's going to be tough to get by Andy Shield, though. He's going to have to really make a mistake or have used up his tires. And I think Clint really pushing hard to just put the pressure on right now. Battle for 1st and 2nd, battle for 3rd and 4th. Your top 5 all on the same straightaway, and then we've got a good battle further back, though. Dean Tooling, Darren Treacle, Matthew Gazenda, they're all fighting for position. 2 Porsches, 2 Ferraris. And then we got a big mix of them at the back of the fields. Matthew Gazenda, his Ford Mustang, after leading those first 2 laps, starting to... he has really struggled with the handle since lap number 3. And you could say that those 2 cars are kind of similar layout. Big, long hoods, sweeping rear decks, front engines. So the balance is a bit different than a lot of these other cars. And the 52 goes really wide. That is going to cost him. Merges back on, nearly makes contact with Dean Tooling. And Dean is one that usually runs a BMW. Interesting to see him in the Ferrari. But obviously felt that that car had the best characteristics for tonight's race. We jump back to the front of the field. It's 1 car length between the 2 Porsche machines. And they are putting down amazing laps. Clint Fletcher still just a touch faster. Could be from the slipstream down the straightaways. But he's been a little bit better in the turns. And we've got an incident, I think, at the back here. Darren Treacle's gone around. So let's see. It was into turn number 1. Yeah, just loses the back end of that Mercedes. Everybody able to avoid him. He kept it rolling the entire time. Basically did a nice big loop. But not the night that Darren Treacle was hoping for. He reflected in something in the first race, which I think may have been part of why he started from pit lane and then elected to start from pit lane in this one. And it looks like he's taking it behind the wall for the night. Not how he would have liked the evening to have gone. We're past halfway in this one. And the top two, as they did before, have driven away. For this battle now, third and fourth. This is what's going to really be interesting to watch. Michael Pavolano's pace has fallen off just a little bit, but he's still faster than Brian Kennedy, but hasn't made up a lot of time on Bruce Wiley. So these guys could, I don't know, kind of coming and going as this race goes on. I still think it could be a three-way battle for that final step of the podium. Well, out in front, Andy Scheel doing what he needs to do. Keeping that car a couple of car lengths out in front. That time was the fastest car on the racetrack. And nearly gets bumped out of the way, though. Clint Fletcher, that may be his only tactic when it comes time to do it. I'm not sure that the admins of the league would love that. Not unprecedented in road racing, but also not really the way you tend to want to make passes in these GT3 cars. A bit more precision is desired when you get into racing with these. And these two out in front, they've been as precise as they can be. Driving away now, 5 seconds the difference back to Bruce Wiley. And it's not like those guys are slow. They are running good, consistent lap times. But it may be that these two have a little bit more experience. They're also in a different kind of car that might just be better suited for this track tonight, especially with the high track temp. Back through turn 15 again, the gap just a couple of car lengths, and the slipstream going to be a benefit down the straightaway. We'll see that tick down to close to a quarter second by the time they reach turn number 1. Oh my goodness, what a hit on the curb for Clint Fletcher. That is going to cost him some time. Wow, that was serious contact with that curb. Let's see if we can get a replay of that. That car all the way off the ground and then landed pretty hard. Able to keep it rolling here, but didn't actually cost him all that much. He's still right on the back bumper. And Brian Kennedy trying to complete the pass to get to third. It looks like he will. Michael Pavolano still about a second and a half behind. He's not made the progress that I expected. You can see the damage there on the 77 splitter. That's probably from hitting some of these curbs as well. Wrinkled up there right in the center. Your top two fighting for the lead. Under 5 minutes to go. Is the handling going to start going away on either of these cars? It has just been so consistently even between these two. Lap after lap. There's areas where Andy Scheel a little bit faster. And then there's areas that Clint Fletcher is a little bit faster. I think Clint's just been charging the corners so much harder. I don't know that he's going to be able to keep up on the last couple of laps. It could be something where he kind of hits the cliff. He's just doing what he needs to do to have a shot at it, hoping for a mistake from the 5 of Andy Shield. Further back in the field could be a battle between Dean Tooley and Scott Kim. It's 6th and 7th. Scott has had a good solid night. No major errors. Right now about 17 seconds off the race leader. Again, very consistent for a lot of these drivers tonight. They know what pace they can run, and they're running it lap after lap after lap, and very impressive to see that. The top 2 are so much faster at the beginning of the race, and then now that this has worn on for quite some time, they're actually very close in lap time to Brian Kennedy and Michael Pavolano and some of these other drivers, but they were, you know, second half 2 seconds a lap faster for the opening part of this race. Coming back to the stripe here with 2 laps to go, and it looks like Andy Shield finally starting to get a little bit of distance between himself and Clint Fletcher. Clint, nice run out of turn number 15 that time, actually able to keep it nice and tidy. And they'll get the white flag the next time around. Still in the mid 145s for these guys, though. They had kind of a bad lap for their standards, which was still in the 146s. And Clint really overshooting the turn that time. That's probably the nail in the coffin for his shot to win this race, and that's all it takes sometimes. Andy Shield's been nearly perfect. But he slips it just a little bit down into the corner. You know, any of these drivers can do that. Just a little, you know, slip up with the focus. Went down into any of these 15 turns. It's not over until the checkered flag is out and you've crossed that start-finish line. Andy Shield still 1.3 seconds out in front. Clint Fletcher trying to just keep him in arm's reach. But ultimately probably just going to run out of grip and opportunities. So we keep an eye on the battle for the final step of the podium. It's Brian Kennedy now increasing his gap to 1.1 seconds, 1.2 seconds over Bruce Wiley. Michael Pavolano has closed in a little bit more on the 67, but not quite close enough. As the leaders make their way once again through turn number 15, down the hill. Big slide there from the 5. And white flag is going to shine or be shown here. Oh. Now white flag is out. Clint Fletcher, 1.5 seconds. That's about 15, 20 car lengths. You break it down that way. We're going to keep an eye on 4th and 5th. This could be one of our better battles of the race. If they can get a little bit closer together. Dean Tooley and Scott Kim about the same distance, half a second or so between them. These are all for position. Everyone's still on the racetrack other than Darren Treacle, who took it behind the wall. Matthew Gazenda is well behind the field. But even he has stabilized his lap times after struggling with the handling early on. Did lead a couple of laps. And Clint Fletcher, big bobble that time. I think it's just a case of he pushed really hard to keep up with Andy Shield. And being in that wake of air, you've just used up the tires so much that he's really paying the price for it here on these last couple of laps. But really great stuff to see them battle it out like that, nose to tail. And here we go. Michael Pavolano has caught Bruce Wiley. What is he going to be able to do? with the 67. Takes peak driver's left, trying to force a mistake there. Only a couple of corners to go. Andy Shield going to be perfect on the night, though, through turn 15 at Algarve. And then up the hill towards the start-finish line. He is going to win and sweep the evening. What a drive from the number 5 in race number 9. He's going to take the win. What a fantastic victory. And Michael Pavolano doing everything he can to try and get to 4th place. Not going to be close enough. Brian Kennedy finishes in 3rd. Wiley 4th. Pavolano in 5th. And they'll pile it down on into turn number 1. Scott Kim doing everything he can to hang on to 6th. He'll do it. Able to hold off Dean Tooley. Good battle between those two for this race. Matthew Gazenda going to come home in the 8th spot. But tonight's winner going to be Andy Shield and the number 5 Porsche 911 GT3. Let's see if we can pull him in straight away. I know that Andy likes to sometimes head out for the evening quickly, so we'll see if we can get a call up to the driver, then number 5. Hey Andy, this is Adam in the V-Speed booth. You got a copy? Hey, pretty good, man. And what a night for you here at Algarve. You get the sweep of the evening. You're fastest in qualifying. You drive through the field in the heat race, and then in the feature here, able to do just that with a lot of pressure, though, this time from Clint Fletcher. Describe tonight with the hot track temps and working your way through the field. Yeah, you could see a few times where you were trying to set him up and then he'd go defensive and block or defend perfectly, right? And then you finally got him there with 2 laps to go, able to get the pass done, take the heat race win. This one, you were able to pass him a little earlier, but some of those pass setups, you know, very technical track, like you said, but you could see how you'd approach a corner and then it'd sweep into the next corner, able to make it all work here and drive on through the field. Very impressive to watch. We go to Jerez next week. Do you think you'll be out there for that one? And if so, how do you feel about that track?
Good there as well. So I think more people know the track now as opposed to this track that we raced this evening. So I think the field should be a little bit closer all the way through, really. So that should make some good racing next week.
Awesome. Well, looking forward to seeing you back on track. See if you can go 2 in a row here. Impressive drive tonight, though. You start 9th, you lead 9 laps in this feature race, and you sweep the evening. Just so impressive to watch you drive up through. Anybody you want to give a shout out to for tonight's victory?
Just obviously you in the booth, and obviously the admins for the series, and yeah, it's just a great group of guys, and I think we all enjoy racing on a Thursday.
Awesome, Andy. Well, thanks so much for taking some time here after the race and go celebrate. And hopefully we catch you next week at Jerez. See if you can go back to back. Thanks again.
Thanks very much.
That is Andy Shield, your race winner. Let's go now to 2nd place. That is going to be Clint Fletcher. See if we can pull him down in. Hey, Clint, this is Adam in the booth. You got a copy?
I do.
Well, man, a pretty great night for you here. You come in the points leader with a good margin. You don't get the pole, you don't win the heat, but you don't win the feature. But man, you're right there knocking on the door, and some incredible battles between you and Andy Shield here tonight. What was what was different between what you guys were doing and the rest of this field and dealing with hot slick track and a technical track tonight?
Well, first off, we're in Porsche is the superior car by far. But no, jokes aside, I don't know. Andy or he bought the track, I think, a while back, and today was his first time driving it. So the guy just has amazing skill to pick the track up and do a couple practice laps, set down the fastest time for pole, and then win back-to-back heat races. So overall, guy's amazing driver. He was making me sweat like crazy the first heat, and then the second heat he got by pretty early, and I just couldn't keep up with him. Bobbled, made two mistakes, and then he was gone.
Yeah, it was really just an impressive battle, especially in the first heat. You were defending for lap after lap after lap. You'd see he'd try and set you up, and ultimately just a little slip up there, I think, into the hairpin. But what was that like? Were you really looking in the mirror, or was your car, what was it doing at that point? And what were you going to be able to do to defend, um, you know, tonight here at this track?
Yeah, I noticed some corners I was a little faster than him, and then that back section he was much faster than me. He was staying in second gear, so his traction control wasn't kicking in like mine. I was actually coming out in first and wheel spinning, so I think in the long run that made me roast my tires, and I should have short shifted. But I mean, at the end of it, when he passed me, I was thinking just brake a little bit later. He was actually thinking the same thing, and then both blew our braking marker and both went deep. But ultimately, he was able to complete the pass on me because I went so deep.
Yeah, it was just really amazing stuff to watch you guys duke it out here. Clean as well, no contact whatsoever. And, you love to see that. We go to Jerez next week. How do you feel about going out there?
I'll have to Google
I think it's
image
Mexico.
that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sure. I think we've probably raced there before, so definitely we'll just practice and see how we do. If Andy comes back out, it'll be another great night, I believe.
Yeah, always. Oh, actually, it's in Spain, so I think that's just the Spanish Grand Prix track. Yeah, that's what it is. We just call it by the the name, I guess, on the calendar there. But yeah, it should be fun to see you guys battle it out in the Porsches again. See if you drive through the field like you did here tonight. So much fun to watch, and just a very impressive showcase of your guys' talent and racecraft as well, working your way through the field. Is there anybody you want to give a shout out to for the race tonight?
Oh yeah, the usual BMW and CCA for hosting this, you for the live streams and all the videos. It's fun to watch back, and then our sponsors at Gunfire Games and Perry for the livery.
Awesome, Clint. Well, great job out there tonight. Again, so much fun to watch you drive through the field and battle with Andy like that. It's one of the best battles in recent memory with you guys. So go celebrate the great drive tonight, and we'll catch you next week in Spain.
Appreciate it, Adam. Have a good night.
Thanks, you too. Clint Fletcher, third place finisher. Let's now go to, or second place finisher rather. Let's go to our third place. And that is Brian Kennedy. We'll get him up into the booth here. Hey, Brian, this is Adam in the V-Speed booth. You got a copy?
Hello.
Oh, hey, Brian, can you hear me?
I can. I
All
wasn't
right.
sure if that was. I'm streaming in to the other guys right now. So.
Oh, possibly, yeah. I think that's what happened. I don't know exactly, but you got me now. So, really fun race here tonight at Algarve. You come home third in this feature event. You had good pace. Really seemed to find your footing there, especially as the race went on. Just describe the battling here tonight. A lot of good battles, hot track temp, and these GT3 machines tonight.
Yeah, it's definitely a track where you're always, searching for grip to begin with, and then the hot track temperatures made it even slipperier. So tire management was key. The first race, Scott drove real well. Like I couldn't get by him, but I was again able to save my tires a little bit more. So I think his tires started to go off, and he made some mistakes and got by him. And second race, I got to apologize again to Dean. I found out I take a different line through, like there's a couple right-handers in the middle of the track, and I took a much wider line than I think most other people there, and I just my fault. I ran into the back of Dean and took him out, so that's bad. But yeah, otherwise it was a great night. Lots of close racing that I saw up ahead and also around me. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely fun battles all throughout the field, and we say it every time. It's not necessarily a ton of guys on track, but I mean, you make the most of it. It is always entertaining to watch. And you come home third here tonight, to cap it all off. We go to Jerez in Spain for next week's race. How do you feel about going out there for that one?
Yeah, it's a track I've been on a couple times. I don't recall too much about it, so I'll have to relearn it and figure out if I like it.
Yeah, I think we might have run there last season or the season before that. It's one of the it's another one very similar to this track, I think, with a few more passing opportunities. So should be entertaining to watch, especially as the season's getting closer to the end. We're getting winter season coming up here in a bit. Hopefully we get even some more drivers on track with you guys to keep things as interesting as they have been. But
Definitely.
definitely a fun race here at Algarve. You come home third. Anybody you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, I'll give a shout out to Clint and Andy. I mean, they were a class above tonight. They were both at exceptional pace, and they just walked away from us. So yeah, congrats to them on 2 great races.
Yeah, really fun to watch them drive through, but it wasn't all easy all night long, right? I mean, everybody had their opportunities, and you guys had some great battles midfield and on back too. So
Yeah.
great driving all throughout, I would say, and congrats on third place here tonight. And keep things close in the championship. We'll see how you do next week at Jerez. But thanks for taking some time here, Brian.
Thanks, Adam.
Thank you. Third place finisher Brian Kennedy. Now let's go to our full race results. But again, your race winner tonight, Andy Scheel in the Porsche machine. Great drive from him. And he's going to lead the way here at Algarve. 2 lead changes. Like we saw in the heat race, it wasn't just one driver leading all night long. There were lead changes. There were passes all throughout this field. At a track that is, traditionally a bit tougher to pass at, and Andy Scheel able to drive through and bringing Clint Fletcher right along with them, keeping those battles tight for the lead for so long in both races. Very impressive from the 2 Porsche drivers here tonight. Brian Kennedy going to come home in third. Bruce Wiley finishes in the 4th spot. Nice solid race from him. Michael Pavolano not quite able to catch up to the 67, but was about a car length or 2 behind, finishes 5th. Scott Kim, strong night. He'll finish in 6th. Dean Tooley in 7th. And Matthew Gazenda 8th. Darren Treacle takes it behind the wall early and rounds out the field in the 9th position. I want to thank you so much for tuning in here from Algarve for tonight's race, the BMW Car Club of America National Capital Chapter Sim Racing League from Algarve Race 9 of 14 in this fall season. We're live most nights on the channel. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, and stay up to date with all of the great sim racing action that we have here on V-Speed. And we'll be back next week from Jerez in Spain for race number 10 this season, wrapping up quickly. You don't want to miss any of the action here on V-Speed. Thanks again, and have a great night.